Okay, so since I now have a Digitakt, let's try to make full use of its sampling capabilities. The idea is to try and make a full track with this palette, every sound, and sample them one after the other into the Digitakt. So, of course, I will start with the kick, because it's usually the backbone of a track. Even if it's not the most preeminent sound, it's the pulse, it's everything that makes the track go forward. So I want to use the dual sine sawtooth generator function and LXD. I'm going to show 3 ways to do it, from the most basic to the most complicated. The most basic, very basic thing is to just take the oscillator, go into LXD, take a trigger from step E and go into strike input. This way you get a kick. It's not really a kick actually, it's more of a bongo percussion, but you could settle for this, it's not too bad. More buzzy, works well with sine wave, but it's not really a kick. We want something a bit more full-featured. So I'm going to use step E to trigger a function, and I'm going to mult function into the built-in buff mult, and then I'm going to send one copy to the LXD, of course. I'm going to flick the switch up, so now these are disabled, and I want to use function to just push the pitch into audible range. So now you can already hear there's some of a different attack. Now function is responsible for pushing this oscillator from LFO range into audible range. And so that's entirely these 3 knobs will control the sound of the kick. Bit too zappy. Math and function are great for this use because they go super exponential. You can have very clicky envelope, and a click is very much welcome in here because it's the attack part of the kick. As you can hear, in full exponential mode, the envelope is a bit short to have a long decay. So the controls, even though they are there, they're a bit limited. A better way to do this would be to keep the same patch, but send function still through the mult, but take function, put it through an attenuator first, and send this back into the frequency control. So basically, this is exactly the same thing as we were just doing. Just need to send it to LXD. So this is the exact same patch, except there's an attenuator in the way. But now we can also use this as an offset to move the pitch where we want it to be. That is in audible range. So now we have much more control, because we have these 3 controls, we have the pitch, and we can also attenuate the envelope. So that's more akin to a kick. Ideally, you want one envelope for the pitch of the oscillator and one envelope for the amplitude of your VCA, but small case, so we do what we can. You can also try the other side of the LXD, just to see if there's a difference. This one is a bit more muffled. I think I prefer the 12 dB. And so once you have a kick you're satisfied with, just sample it into the Digitakt. I've already done it for the sake of speed. So here's what we have on here. It's a bit similar, maybe a bit lower in pitch. You can always tune it higher or not. Okay, so now that we have our kick drum all trimmed and ready to go, we can place a few steps on the sequencer, and then we'll focus finding something on the modular. Let's try to do something different than 4/4 for once, so I'll place a few steps. Let's go with this. Here's our kick pattern, and yeah, let's try something like a synth line on the modular. Okay, so we have our sample here. Let's try to fit this on the grid. It was a 15-step sequence, so let's see how it works. Putting the envelope to infinity. Just a little delay. Yeah, I think it's okay. It's not too bad. You can see with the filter, had some modulation. Just playing with the filter and the Digitakt, trying to find something that works. Okay, so we have a kick and a synth so far. So let's try to make some hats or percussion, maybe some toms first with the modular. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do the hats yet because there's no noise in this thing, but I'll try something. Okay, so let's try to find something maybe more percussive here, something that complements the kick and maybe the sine wave we just found. So let's send the oscillator to the filter just in case. I'm opening everything. FM because it works well for percussion. Cross modulation because you never know. Let's tune that somewhere here. And of course the filter into LXD, and this time we'll just maybe just ping the LXD. We'll see later if we use function. So this is a kick. function. Basically, I'd like to find something that's in the background you don't really hear, but something that you hear when you stop it, like a bass. Something that gives some groove. Let's try to add swing. Maybe that could work. I'm just gonna record this like this. Again, we really don't need very long, so that's enough. Okay, I'll edit that on the Digitakt and then we'll find again another sound on the palette. Now let's do a hat. I think the best way to approximate some noise is to have this oscillator into cross modulation and modulation madness. I'm not using LXD here because it's a bit leaky, and for a very short sound like a hat, it doesn't suit very well. You want it to be closed completely. So I'm using the low pass side of dual pool, which does close completely. And I'm opening that with function. But I'm also using the high pass side because we're going to use it to we don't want a lot of low end energy into a hat. We could do that on Digitakt, but as much as possible, I try to record stuff that's as ready to go as possible. So let's do the most basic pattern in the world. A kick for context. So there's a lot of low end, so let's high pass all this. It's already frankly okay for a hat. We can record a few. With different envelopes, so we have like an open hat and a closed hat. Yeah, I think this will do actually. So let's record a few. Okay, I have a few different envelopes, like I said. I'll edit the sample and use that in the Digitakt, and then we'll see what we can do next. Okay, so I was trying to find a new synth line, and this is what I landed with. So if you remember, this is just our kick. We add our toms and some hats. I've pitched them up so they fit better with the rest. So while I was doing this, so I deliberately put the high pass filter very high to have something airy, but I realized if I turn it down, it makes for a great bass line. And to be quite frank, I wasn't very satisfied with the toms, so I think this makes a better track. So I think I'm gonna record this. Plus, it feels quite well with the one we had before. There's of course some volume to adjust. I think the toms are just gonna go to the bin. It's okay. We don't have to keep every sound. Okay, onwards, let's record that. Okay, so let's review the sounds we have. We just recorded this bass line, and I think we're gonna stop here. So we have our kick recorded with the modular. Then we have said bass line, which replaced the toms. Then we have the other synth part, which I tweaked a little. It's a bit lower in the mix, more filtered out, but I think it sounds better when everything is together. There's an LFO as well on the filter frequency. So this doesn't sound like modular because it's a 909 closed hat. So I've cheated, but there's no reasonable way you could have done a sound like that within the modular. So that's my one cheat code. This one though is definitely the one we recorded, except I've pitched it up by 12 cents, so that sounds more like a hat. That's the original sound. Honestly, I much prefer this one, and it works once again better with everything. And the last sound is this. It's not something I've just recorded, but it's a sound I've recorded from my previous video, I think. But I'm just using a fraction of the whole 33 seconds. But yeah, sometimes, you know, you're looking for a snare sample or a clap sample. That's the cool thing about samplers. You're scrolling and going past a synth and you're like, oh, this sounds cool. So screw the clap and I'm using this. So let's play everything together. I could still add 2 instruments, but I'm of the opinion of when it's not because you had 2 tracks left that you have to use them. So I think this is enough actually. Maybe if I were preparing this pattern for live, I would add maybe cymbals or different hats so I could switch. But this as a whole, I don't think it needs more percussive elements. It's quite bare bones, but I don't know, the modular parts are rich enough that it's okay, I think. A little compression on the master as well. It helps glue things together. I think the compressor on the Digitakt is pretty good. I never sidechain anything and just put it on master. I'm sorry I couldn't create decent 909 hats with the modular, but yeah, I like those hats. Hope this was informative and enjoyable to watch. I think it's a good exercise, even if sometimes it feels unnecessarily painful, but yeah, I mean, there's some pride to have in creating a whole track with just a small modular and a sampler. See you next time.